Hi there, Dawson. So it's nice to see that you've sent us your first set of essays. Let's take a look at this one. It's about doing an enjoyable activity. So let's see what you wrote. Creativity and skills development have emerged as one of the most controversial issues in raising children. I believe leisure activities can help children to enhance these abilities rather than learning from books. This essay will state my own opinions and use examples from playing on game consoles and sports to demonstrate points and prove arguments. All right, fine, clear, no problems. Firstly, although children can gain basic knowledge from reading books or academic articles, leisure activities like playing on games consoles, for example, can help develop their skills. This is because the more training their brains have, the more chances they will develop mental skills. To illustrate, a study by the Japanese government showed that for those local children who played the Sony PlayStation 2 hours a day, a study showed that, there we go, get rid of this for, and those. So, showed that local children who played the Sony PlayStation 2 hours a day can build active skills in spatial awareness. Okay, it's really important here to somehow show that these kids can develop these skills better than kids who don't. So you really should have added that too. Let's try it one more time. To illustrate, a study by the Japanese government showed that local children who play Sony PlayStation 2 hours a day can build active skills in spatial awareness 30% more than their counterparts who do not play these games. Okay, you have to have some sort of a comparison here. Therefore, it is apparent that children are more likely to develop these skills and imagination via entertaining activities. Secondly, playing sports is another way to boost adolescents' abilities, which are difficult to acquire in a traditional classroom approach. This is due to the fact that sports players are required to have a tremendous amount of effort in learning tactics and training before attending competitions. For instance, recent research from Harvard University indicates that youngsters are able to develop their cognitive and physical abilities. Use some cohesion here through sports. Again, show that they can do this through sports, but without sports that they could not, okay? Consequently, recreational activities such as sports can be more effective, no LY, in building a variety of skills, okay? To conclude from the examples and arguments given, I firmly agree that skills development determined through leisure activities such as playing on games, consoles, and sports, rather than learning from books, are perfectly applicable for the youth. All right, that's a little awkward. Applicable is probably not the wrong word, or probably not the right word here. It is predicted that children will be encouraged to participate in recreation in order to enhance their abilities. All right, let's go back to this actual essay. Doing an enjoyable activity with a child can develop better skills and imagination than reading. So, what did your essay focus on here? Your essay focused here on game consoles in order to develop active skills and spatial awareness. And here, it focused on cognitive abilities and physical abilities gained through sports. So here's what's missing for me. This. You didn't say anything about imagination at all. And it's pretty important to do that because of the way this question is phrased. It says they can develop better skills and imagination. So as you can see, they separated imagination. They didn't just lump it together with skills. So that you should interpret as, okay, this is the people at IELTS telling me that discussing imagination is really important. In fact, if it were up to me, it probably would have gotten its own paragraph, okay? So the other thing that for me you underdeveloped was this idea of reading. There is a very clear comparison drawn here, okay? So they're comparing an enjoyable activity to reading. Where did you even mention reading, okay? So you mentioned it once here from reading books, okay, once in your introduction, and then once again in your conclusion. So here when I was telling you, okay, compared to what, this was a wonderful opportunity for you to say here, for example, that they build active skills and spatial awareness better than children who only read books, okay? That would have been appropriate. Or here, they develop their cognitive abilities and physical abilities through sports, whereas the same is not achieved through reading books. Okay, so you have to tie this in to the central idea of this essay a little better, okay? Now, that's the bad news. The good news is that you followed the template really quite nicely. It read fairly easily, okay, so grammatically and lexically, there was a lot of nice stuff happening for your first set of essays, okay? But again, I want you to be careful with the task achievement portion of the criteria. That's something I want you to think about, and I want you to really pay a little closer attention to what is being asked of you when you do these essays, all right? Now, let's take a look at your second task. Okay, so now we move on to our second essay here, and let's see what you wrote. This is the one about schools and whether this should be more entertaining. Here is what you said here. Balancing study and life has emerged as one of the most contentious issues of the modern era. While many advocate that schooling is the major reason why students attend academic institutes, I completely disagree and think that extracurricular activities are essential for the comprehensive development of students, as many adolescents result in mental illness if they have no leisure activities. All right, careful, careful, careful. The essay is asking you about entertainment, okay? Look at this again. Schools have to be more entertaining. So the first thing I want you to think about is, what does entertaining mean? Entertaining means fun, amusing, something that makes us laugh, something that kind of rivets us, but primarily this idea of laughter and amusement, okay? So that's the first thing that I want you to think about. Then, let's see what you said here. Balancing study and life, fine. Okay, I completely disagree and think that extracurricular activities, okay, extracurricular activities could be anything that's just outside of the curriculum. So it could be a debate club. It could be, I don't know, volunteer experience with, whomever. So these are not, extracurricular activities are not necessarily the same thing as entertainment, all right? So I want you to be very clear about this. These are not synonyms, so don't use them as synonyms, okay? And then this really didn't make much sense to me. Let's look at it again. As many adolescents, you don't result in mental illness, but you develop mental illness if they have no leisure activities. Again, we're not discussing leisure activities specifically, okay? There are lots of things that could be considered leisure activities, like Sudoku or chess or, lots of things, but they're not necessarily entertainment. So be careful. Let's move on. Firstly, extracurricular activities such as sports and drama, get rid of the S, are able to enhance students' cognitive abilities. This is largely because these activities offer them the opportunity, you're missing expression here, to comprehend their strengths and weaknesses, among others. For example, recent research from Harvard University indicates that for those students who participate in extracurricular activities, no, get rid of this "for those," you did this in the other essay too, that students who participate in extracurricular activities can develop problem-solving skills as compared to those who focus only on studying. Therefore, although learning knowledge from school is important for students, developing cognitive skills can be useful in studying, which may only be achieved from non-curricular events. Okay, again, non-curricular does not mean that it's entertaining. I'm going to say it again, okay? Okay, so secondly, regular learning from educational establishments may cause mental problems. This is due to the fact that the longer concentration you perform, the harder students could remain focused. No, grammatically this is all wrong. We have to fix it. This is due to the fact that the longer students concentrate, the harder it is to remain focused. I think this is what you're trying to say. What you wrote really just it's incoherent, so I'm not really sure. I'm just taking a guess here. Take, for example, a recent study in 2017 from WHO, which demonstrated that the majority of undergraduates in Hong Kong only focused on their study for 45 minutes at the most. As a result, regular curriculum may not suit contemporary students, get rid of "for the," due to the duration of concentration. All right, I think I know what you're trying to say, but you haven't really said it. But the thing I want you to remember, Dawson, when you're writing these essays is that you don't want to make the examiner work. It is not the examiner's job to kind of try to like figure out what it is you were thinking, what kind of connection you were trying to make to this, and what sort of conclusions you're trying to draw. It is your job as a test taker to make those connections as clear as possible, okay? I think that what you're trying to say here is that students can't concentrate. And so since they can't concentrate for longer than 45 minutes, give them some entertaining activities to help them kind of release their stress, you know, let them release some steam, for example, and then go back to work. Okay, so that's what it sounds like you're trying to imply here. Unfortunately, you never said it. This is all my interpretation. This is what I kind of understood here. So essentially what I'm telling you is that this is a really underdeveloped paragraph. You haven't made the connections that you're supposed to make in order to make your viewpoint clear. So an examiner reading this could say, all right, this is absolutely off topic because we never asked about this. We never asked about mental problems and studying for a long time. That's not what we said. We said, you know, should schools be just academic or should they include more entertaining activities? And this paragraph doesn't deal with either one of those issues, okay? So it's problematic and it needs to be rewritten. Let's look at let's look at the conclusion. To conclude from the examples and arguments given, I totally agree that the extracurricular activities, no, not the, just extracurricular activities, should be necessary to promote in schools, not only because they help the holistic development of students, but because they improve their mental health. In the future, extracurricular activities will eventually replace our school curriculum. Okay, again, I'm going to say one last time that extracurricular activities does not necessarily mean that they are also entertaining. So be careful with that. These are not synonyms. In fact, I am going to review your essay to see if you actually ever used anywhere the word entertainment. Let's see. Okay, here we've got extracurricular, extracurricular, extracurricular. Okay, nothing here at all. I remember that. And again, here, extracurricular. So an examiner could essentially read this and say, this is completely off topic because I never asked about extracurricular activities. I asked about entertainment in schools. Okay, so I really want you to be careful with this. Now, I know it's your first set of essays, but you have to be a little careful here because really, I personally feel that half of what you do in the IELTS Task 2 depends on how well and how appropriately you've interpreted the question that is asked. So let's talk about what you have to do next for your next steps. First thing you have to do is you have to correct these essays based on this video correction, okay? The second thing you have to do is you have to create an error correction list where you write down all the errors that were pointed out. Next to each error, write what the corrected version would be, all right? This is something you're going to add to with each essay you get back. And the third thing, of course, is to write a new set of essays applying everything you've learned both through this video correction and in the course so far. So go ahead, get started on that, and let's meet back here with your next set of essays, okay? Good luck.